Germain was a bicycle courier. Until quite recently, he sadly misplaced some money orders en route to a boiler maintenance company and was held liable. When the distillery bought the company, his debt came along with it. Why are you so forthcoming with everyone's personal records? Leia's good people. Used to run a magazine. Paid writers by the word and ended up a few flowery adjectives in the red. Hard Times co-signed on a loan for a quarterly digest, but it sank. Doesn't talk much now. No one talks now, apparently. Dennis. We love Dennis, truly, but... Dennis cost all of us a great deal of time and money, you see, many years ago, and it continues to sting. His family owned a logging company once. They accidentally floated an uninspected log infested with termites down the river, and it ended up in our yard and spread its pestilence. Devastation. We didn't catch it until the porous casks had already been filled. The great warehouse spillage disaster, we still call it. Yes, Dennis will be here for a while. We're just lucky he's such an agreeable fellow. All these people had shit to do. Like, they all had lives and careers and, like, things to do, and you're just, like, swallowing them all up with one business. It's clearly not their first choice, or they would have come here on their own. Ruben here was once a serial entrepreneur. You know what that is? He created and sold a bunch of businesses, one after the other. Creative bookkeeping caught up with him, and he had to borrow against some empty promises to keep his licenses intact. Now he's here, in shipping. Everyone has a sad story. Raoul. This is Raoul, our young prodigy. Raoul's been groomed for the role of master distiller. The distillery paid tuition for his chemistry degree. In exchange, he's here serving out his apprenticeship. And shall be for many years, I expect. Capitalism as a concept is just a constant weight upon this entire game. It's the unspoken word that colors every single aspect of its narrative. This is Pamela. On her dear friend's 40th birthday, she purchased a quarter cask of Hard Times to celebrate. Unfortunately, her check was misplaced under the delivery driver's seat for a few months and was cashed at an inopportune moment. Naturally, the biggest check first policy incurred significantly elevated overdraft fees and interest. She literally got stuck here by buying your product and didn't even mismanage her funds that much. They just fucked up at charging her. The distillery agreed to front Pamela's bill in exchange for a promise of work. She's here because she got fucked over by shitty bank paper management, basically. Looking sharp, Vincent. Vincent, an avid boatsman, miscalculated while cabrewing down the Echo one afternoon and damaged the distillery's old water pump. Having depleted his modest funds on a canoe full of craft beer, his only option was to pay down the damages working for us here. Heather comes to us from a field of psychotherapy. She used to hit the bars to blow off steam after emotionally draining client sessions, but the remedy outpaced the disease and her tab went to the distillery. Evening, Marge. Marge is an avid collector of vinyl records. She borrowed some quick cash from a distillery employee for a rare King Tubby Doug plate. Must have been quite a find. It all feels like a commentary on the idea of, like, the local business in a small town, when a town just has, like, the one big industry that takes over the entire industry, and everyone everyone collectively kind of rises and falls alongside that one industry and kind of gets sucked into that one industry when there's just like one really big factory or mine or something in an area that everyone just kind of has to work at. It's like one of the only lifestyles around, where almost no other jobs exist. It may not be a job of its own, but the food is certainly passable. Most of us never leave the premises anyway. Why not? Why not? Well, we strive to avoid unnecessary downtime. Besides, if we were all coming and going 3 times a day, we'd surely attract the wrong kind of attention. Can't tax what you can't see now. As a part of making sure that this entire place isn't observed by the government and taxed and do anything like that. Like it's... Wow, he can just walk straight through this fence because he's not physical. This is why you don't see people around. Big fucking pre-unionization company store vibes here. Everyone here is an indentured servitude, and they're likely not paid real money ever. In the old days, you would work and live on the company's property in like a work camp, and you'd all eat at the cafeteria and buy things at the company store and sleep in the company like bunkhouses. And like the company store, the stuff you would buy would be, you'd buy things via the fucking currency they gave you that was like monopoly money. You couldn't save up that money you were getting paid and go out into the world and like buy a house or have any real mobility and power in capitalism. This is a really fucked up process where it's like technically you're eating and you're sleeping and you're sheltered, so like technically your needs are being met, although in many cases back then the company practices were also very dangerous, so there's a decent chance you're going to lose a limb in a machine or be working well before the age you should ever be allowed to work, and so on, and a bunch of other issues. But the thing is that you're practically an indentured servant back then too, because you weren't making real money that you could use in the real world. So no matter how hard you worked and how good you did at your job, you were still essentially a non-entity in the real world's economy. And so you had no mobility and no power, and you couldn't really leave. Not unless you wanted to start completely at zero with nowhere to live unless you had somebody take you in, and no savings and no money because you weren't getting paid at your job. You were just being given fucking bullshit tokens that you could use to buy clothing and food at the company store, but nowhere else. I think something similar is going on here. These people never leave the premises. They're all like skeleton people, and apparently people can see that because they're called the Others, and like people are freaked out by the Others, according to the story we heard on Xanadu. So they're never seen anywhere because nobody really sees these skeletons walking around. It is definitely seen as a negative when you're sold to the distillery. Like when that was the big setup during the entertainment, was that this was really bad news for the people that were going to be sold to the distillery. It was definitely framed as like a grim thing. And like these are all people that have some kind of outstanding debt, and it doesn't really feel like they have any real chance of ever successfully paying it off, no matter how ludicrous the story is for how it happened or how small the mistake was that got them trapped here. They're all kind of like in a purgatory because they're likely not being paid any real money. And like, what do you know? You get to sleep here, you get to eat here. You're not really supposed to leave. You just got to keep working and working and working. And they just kind of dangle this carrot on the end of the stick that totally, yeah, one day this will all work out and pay off. Seriously. This whole thing's so grim. Just get out, Shannon. Get out, Conway. You gotta get out of here. You think you could ever live somewhere like this? Seems lonely. That's not really my criticism, but okay. Yeah, I guess you don't... Where do you live? Truck, I guess. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's me too now, if I can't get my landlord to change the locks back. Just a couple of vagrants, huh? We'll figure it out. You kind of get the vibe that both these characters are clinging to this particular delivery and this adventure and this journey because they don't necessarily want to... They don't really necessarily want to go back to their real lives at the moment because they're both on a threshold where they're going to have to make tough choices and likely lose their current way of life and start anew somewhere else, successfully or failed, and just deal with that. Having a fun little 5-act story where they go on an adventure and trying to think too much about their economic woes is probably a good escape. But yeah, like, yeah, he doesn't have a home anymore, and she's getting kicked out too. It's gonna be a long night. It reminds me of stuff like Spirited Away, essentially, where you have people in the real world in a concrete place and they're having some kind of problem. Also a bit of, I guess, like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz. Funnily enough, those are all female protagonists, aren't they? But you have this young girl who is facing some kind of hardship or struggle or has some kind of issues in her normal, dreary, real life. Then she gets, like, sucked away into this fantasy land, which is, like, has, like, abstractions and parodies of the things that are going on in her daily life. And then she kind of has to, like, fight her way back to reality, all to build up to making some kind of choice and growth or something. But for a while there, like, it's an escape. Also Wendy from Peter Pan, I guess. Is it ever a dude? Warriors of Virtue was a dude. This is the stupid kangaroo movie where he falls into a whirlpool and then he's in a magic, like Chinese-inspired kangaroo land where everyone's like warrior monks and things like that. Yeah, I guess that was it was a kid. It was a dude that time. The page master was also a guy. There's a few. I just went down the trend and I was like, okay, how many times has this exact storyline been done? And is it always a young girl? I was like, there's got to be exceptions, right? And I found them. Page master, which protagonist was named Sebastian. So I should have thought of that sooner, actually. At this point, I'm straight up like lost track of where I was even going. This place is miserable and I want to leave. I feel like it's almost like intentional how they set up in advance the fact that Shannon and Conway escape, just so we don't have to worry. It's like we thankfully skipped this place and saw after, so we know an after is coming, so we don't have to worry about being trapped here. Hopefully, now we can safely go back to this moment without the worry that one of us will get trapped here somehow. Because this is like the scariest location in the entire game so far. Thought you'd like to see the accommodations? We supply what bedding we can, according to the formula. You sleep here? A commute to work. A commute would cut into our working hours, and we dearly need those working hours, some more than others. Why, I haven't seen the outdoors in... Myself, I'm focused. Well, shouldn't I be? I've got this figure to pay down, and the longer I sleep, the more interest accrues. It's a sin to sleep your freedom away like that. I don't like it. I don't like this chapter. I don't want to be here anymore. It's too real. What are you doing, sleeping? Your interest is gonna keep building up. You gotta work. You gotta work all the time, forever. That's all you're good for as a person, right? You hit age 18, you finish your school and whatnot, and then you work until you die. There isn't even, like, there's no after. You just work. No weekends. Nobody's working to the weekends. You work through the weekends forever. Of course, as a delivery driver, you'd be able to come and go a little. A little. A little. You're timed pretty closely, but you can still roll the window down. Maybe glimpse a familiar silhouette on the side of the road as you pass. What happened? Oh, I just clicked out of the window onto my... Okay, there we go. It's like, why'd the screen freak out? It's one of those games where your mouse is not directly tied to your screen. So you can kind of go vip and go out of the window entirely. Get me out of here. Is this the game autopiloting me to a place they want to show me? Okay. So I'm like, I actually don't know where to go next at this point. Here it is. Now I have to ask, as a matter of course, what kind of experience do you have driving trucks? I drove deliveries for an antique shop up until this last run. Aha! Precious cargo, you'll do just fine. And you can drive safely, can't you? I haven't any doubt now, it's only after what happened with Miguel this evening. What happened to Miguel this evening? Well, the dust is still clearing, of course. Perhaps he closed his eyes for a moment, or simply hit a curve too devilish. Or perhaps he wanted to fucking escape, and was done. Because that seems like a very reasonable assumption at this point. I do pity ill-fated Miguel, he was good company. And slow to anger, but if we're speaking confidentially, well... With all the lost products to be repaid, bourbon and glass stashed across the interstate, a few casks too, we're all just thankfully had no, next of kin. Because the debt would have transmitted to them. Jesus fucking Christ. So let's just see if we can, ring up the dispatcher. Get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here. Don't get sucked into this, Conway. Doolittle starts the truck and switches on the CB radio. A deep, monotonous voice drones from the dashboard speaker. 1020 on that load, come back. I'm up in Hummingbird Cave, 1012, City Kitty. This a good time, dispatch? We may have found Miguel's replacement, though you might like to get acquainted. That 9, come again? Introduce yourself. Pleased to meet you. Tell dispatch something impressive about yourself. They're very well regarded here. I guess I could drive a truck like this. 99 wheel holder, you gotta pay the water bill. Ah, so. I'm certain they'll call back before long. Let's take a look around the truck, eh? Oh boy. Run, Conway. Run away. Run away. Headlights work fine, see? Do little fiddles with the controls. Run, Conway. Run. Don't get into the car. Don't get all like hyped about it. Don't look at the equipment. That's important. Most of our product goes out at night. You never know who you run into in the daylight. The dusk can be treacherously misleading with all that indirect light. The magic hour, eh? Drivers sleep in the day then? Sure, those that sleep. Miguel pulled extra day shifts when he could. Sometimes he'd help me, you know. Sometimes over in bottling. He drove at night and worked during the day, and then he died in a crash. Gee, I wonder how that happened. He shouldn't have been out driving at dusk. Weird shadows, soft light, dangerous. Conway had to get off the highway. Too loud, too murky. He turned off into some gray cornfield in Indiana. Emptiness rattled into the passenger seat. He kept them over there so that the smell wouldn't spread. That window was always open a crack. He had to pull over. Oh, empty is not emptiness. It's the empty it's those empty drinks. He just needed a nap, even if he ran late. He was only human. He'd been out since the headlights were on. Didn't even stop for coffee. He cracked a beer at 3. Eyes on the road. 4:30. He dodged some stray cattle. The headlights were coming back on. Rockford couldn't wait. Early morning couldn't be much worse than late night. What could they care? He just needed a few hours. So, moving on. You're gonna be, if you end up like Miguel, it's bad. Oh, sure. I know you'll want to look at, you'll want to look. Kick the tires, that's the thing we do, isn't it? As though our knees could exert the kind of force these tires see out there on the road. We're more likely to hurt ourselves, isn't it that way? Isn't it the way, huh? Sure, they're big machines, but they can be fragile. Absolutely, a truck deserves care and fearful respect, like a glass elephant. Miguel was a good driver, but he didn't have that quality of deference. Conway sat in a dim room full of folding chairs. AA. The walls and ceiling were painted with old smoke. Someone read from the book. He drank coffee with little sugar. The book is the Bible, because AA is very religion-oriented, surprisingly. I guess the idea is that they have no... The idea is that if you're somebody that has so little control over yourself, that you need to contextualize it as giving yourself over to a higher power. But, would kind of cause some conflicts for me, because the narrative doesn't work for me. Best just to not drink at all, then. He was just waiting for it to be over. A few others shared. They spoke in abstractions like a program of action, and good, orderly direction, spiritual but not religious, religious but not spiritual. All the things we tried. Then it was over. They clasped sweaty hands through the short prayer and stepped back out into the morning. He knew it was time to hit the bar. It was good to get out of the heat, away from the mendacity. He settled into it. Someone else from the meeting was here, looking rough. He focused on the television. A nature show was playing. Something about river dolphins. They cruised the Amazon, eating psychedelic frogs and having weird adventures. At night, they transformed into attractive young partygoers and wore hats to cover their blowholes. Now what else can we show you? Control of the wipers with this knob here. Do little fiddles with the controls. They seem to have decent torque to them, eh? Can't say how they'd fare in an ice storm, but we must never delay a shipment. Better to assume the risk. We can never delay. See, but I guess we'll just assume the risk. When if your equipment can't hold up, then good luck. You folks watch the weather closely? I wouldn't know it if I saw it. Too many years of climate control. Have I mentioned I rarely if ever leave our facility? I wouldn't know the rain if it drowned me. They ditched class for the day to drive in the rain. It was pointless to stay. All the review. He was a lost cause, and she didn't need it anyway. She was smart, bored. It was time to cut out. Shitty day for it, though. 83 in biblical flood. They went to see a movie. It was some anonymous swashbuckler film about real men and women, real tights, real lips, fake blood. They brought a flask. They smoked cigarettes, drank awful hooch, whistled buckets of rain. She sang about someone who she wanted once to have loved. Brown hair curled around her ear. She had a voice like Scotch whiskey. They poured another drink. And another. And another. She worried it was getting dark out. Then it was getting light out. They ended up in someone else's field, in someone else's car, an early morning joyride, and a sunrise collision. She got on the bus and he hiked back to his car. He sat in his car and went over some options. Chicago, Toronto, Barrow. It seemed like a bold and impulsive gesture at the time, as he pulled out of the parking lot. He removed his hands from the steering wheel for a moment and felt the car drift into a decision. Years later, he'd think of this as the moment he himself started drifting. They went drunk driving and got into a crash, but they had stolen the car, so they just fucking took off. And didn't deal with the consequences. And the extra didn't deal with the consequences by just fleeing to a random direction and just living there now. A modest technology, best suited to the job, eh? Plenty good enough. Looks like it's just about ready to head out. We just have some good strong folks in shipping here, so you never need to worry about loading if you don't want to. Bit hard on the knees and back at our age, eh? Of course, you'll have to unload at the destination, but that's the job, and some drivers like the extra shift stacking and loading here. I shouldn't really do any lifting these days. I see. Well, surely we can spare a dolly and a carrying strap for your health and safety. Conrad woke up on a baled hay. Everything was too bright. His head hurt, the usual. Lysette and Ira argued loudly just outside the open barn door. She wanted Ira to take him inside and shower, have some coffee, get to the job. Ira said there wasn't time. Conway was in no condition. It was an important job. They couldn't put it off. Ira said to let the deadbeat sleep it off and then send him packing. He said Charlie could do the job. Conway stepped out of the barn, shielding his eyes. He tried to say something reassuring, but just sort of stumbled around it. Lysette looked away. Ira just spat and said and went inside to wake Charlie. Ira was a stubborn man, so Charlie went along, and Conway drifted out again. He didn't hear about the accident until months later. So, what next? The truck's radio crackles back to life. Dispatcher, come back. Ah, there's dispatch. Now tell them about your experience. Tell them about that the truck's in good shape, and tell them you'll start in the morning. I really can't. Yeah, we've got to finish this delivery in a few... 10:33 dispatch. Got 2 black eyes and a flock of crocodiles. Come back. 10-4, back it down and prick your eyelids, driver. Come back, Lem. 10-4. Come back, wheel holder. Conway remained silent. Dispatch is addressing you. He's here, dispatch. Got your ears on? Good. Listen to this. So, I think that went well. Let's head back up to logistics, seal the deal, eh? And I've got one more thing to show you. Well, I don't want you to show me new things. Stop showing me new things. Nothing good comes up with all the new things that you want to show me. Conway, you need to leave. Also, I had a feeling there that the timeline wasn't going to match up between here and up there. The cemetery scene was so short. Maybe time works differently down here. God, that's horrifying. God, if time takes longer down here, I think about how horrifying that is. Let's head back upstairs, eh? I have one more thing to show you. Wait, we only came here looking for some answers about this stupid moldy computer. Oh, the old man in the cave with the moldy computer. That black mold, it's drawn to whiskey. It feeds on ethanol fumes, you see. As we age the whiskey, some of it inevitably evaporates into the air. The angels share. It goes through the vents here and out into the caves. If we can scrape up the mold, we can usually apply some pressure and cold to it, squeeze and condense the angel share back into drinkable whiskey. Ah, that's why the others come. That's why there's creepy skeleton people in the caves stealing the mold. It's because it's part of the fermentation process. They take it back and make more whiskey out of it. Every drop counts when you're making a living on the stuff. So we'd go down and scrape it off his equipment just like any other place it grows. He keeps sending his people here to drive us away. Paranoid, truly paranoid. Well, now we have the formula, so we don't need to go collecting mold. Since we stopped going down there, I'm sure the mold's gotten pretty thick. Try cleaning off the time crystal. That'll get you going, I'm sure of it. See, everyone who encountered these people, they're like, oh my god, there's monsters in the caves. We have to run from them. This is terrifying, an earth-shattering moment that we all look back onto in fear. Everyone has to get out of here. And in a way, they are monsters, but not for the way they took. It's the real monster was capitalism. All along. The true darkness is, instead of having like a fucking werewolf down here or something, it's like the horror of profit-driven, libertarian, anti-government, like, nightmare corporations. So, do you want me upstairs? Is this where they want me to go? People that were here earlier seem gone. He's all slow now. If you don't mind, go back and put our helmets away. Something that gives us a little distance from this place. It's welcome. Here it is. A beauty, wouldn't you say? It's an antique, you know. What is it? Why, it's an adding machine. This is where we come for our daily ritual, to calculate the day's interest and repayment according to the formula. I usually do it at the beginning of my shift, so I know how many hours I need in order to work, in order to keep up. Just keep up, not even make progress towards your debt, but just keep up with the fucking interest. Yes, I believe you do well here, sir. Happy to have you. Congratulations, you're hired. Wait, we can't... It's customary to start each day with a shift drink. Let's make it special, mark the occasion. This is the top shelf stuff now, single barrel. He doesn't... Down the hatch. Vinum, Memoriae mors. No, 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 no. Oh, you can see the kid right out there. No. No, I didn't move the mouse. What? Oh, it happens on its own. I don't like that. Oh, no. The fucking mouse will click on it for you. Because they put the alcohol right in front of him. Oh, Conway. Decent enough? Welcome aboard. He's not working for you. We have to get back to this art. He has a delivery to make. What's this? Not working? Are you turning down this opportunity? She's right. I have to make this, I'm disappointed. I'm afraid that leaves us with a delicate problem. As I indicated, this is the top shelf stuff you're drinking now. It isn't cheap. He's gonna charge infinite fucking debt for drinking this. If it's not your first shift drink, well, that is the matter of this tour just now. My time and experience are billed at quite a premium. This is not good for you, my friend. You're in quite deep. My back-of-the-envelope estimations, well, we have that in common, I suppose, all of us. Yes, I'm afraid you'll have to work this off somehow. It's just the way of it. What's happening right now? You can start tomorrow. Take the time to settle your affairs. Of course, the interest begins to compound immediately, and, well, we'll go over the formula when you get back here. I should get back to work. See you tomorrow, then. I want to die. Fuck, we didn't escape. Because Conway took a drink. And they're gonna bill us for the tour. Conway, no. So, I guess I start in the morning. I guess. I'm confused. It's just the way things go, kid. Huh. Well, that still gives us a few hours to roam, right? Where's that ferry? Not gonna lie, I thought he was gonna render back into existence with another robot limb. I'm not robot, another skeletal limb. I thought we were gonna do a time break and then his arm would be skeletal looking. Going with my visual metaphor theory. Didn't the phone say not to get on this? That's a mammoth. That was a mammoth. Oh. Well, there we go. Here and there along the echo. I think I've heard that I'm gonna end up not playing this, but we'll see. I may have already covered this technically. Is that the same number from before? Oopsie. Oh, that's trippy. Nope. Nope.
Hello.
There we go. Yeah, we're not doing that again. So that's the phone call that that's the phone number I called earlier in the series. So I guess I spoiled this episode by doing so, but it was in the game, so yeah. Well, now we know. Back to the circle. I'm not sure what you have to do to count that as complete, but yeah, that's the phone tree we did earlier. I'd rather not do it again. It was entertaining, but also incredibly time-consuming, and we get it already. So, see you guys next time when we play episode 4.